Well, at this moment, Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas is being grilled on Capitol Hill by the House Homeland Security Committee. As NewsNation viewers heard here first, his testimony before the House panel comes a day after Senator Roger Marshall of Kansas introduced a resolution that would ultimately impeach the Homeland Security Secretary from his position. Now, in the resolution, it states Secretary Mayorkas engaged in a pattern of conduct that is incompatible with his constitutional and statutory duties as Secretary of Homeland Security. Joining us live to further discuss is Mark Daniels, Sheriff of Cochise County in Arizona. Thank you so much for being here. Let's start with the resolution. Here's a listen.
I stand at the ready to receive articles of impeachment from the House and conduct an impeachment trial in this body. But in the meantime, I think the Senate must show our colleagues in the House that we've had enough of the failures from the Department of Homeland Security and believe that the Secretary is not fit to faithfully carry out the duties of his office.
So what is your reaction to those statements?
Well, thanks for having me, Kelly. And I'll say this. I'm in South Texas right now, meeting with border sheriffs, our federal officials. Governor Abbott spoke with us the other day. Bottom line is this. What I'm not hearing is that the border is effectively managed or secured. It's not. I know that 39 years I've worked this border. So what we're seeing and what we're hearing from Secretary Mayorkas telling the American people, this is the man that's in charge of Homeland Security, saying that the border is effectively secured. That is a false narrative. And sadly, I have to say that. But again, when you have that leadership responsibility to lead 60,000 CBP agents and officers, work with sheriffs along the border and beyond, and that's not happening, something's broke.
We hear you. This obviously a multifaceted issue. What do you believe law enforcement officials working along the southern border need from the Biden administration right now?
Well, Kelly, the first thing we need is the will. We need the will from President Biden, Vice President Harris, and acted upon by Secretary Mayorkas. And that's what we're not seeing. We're not seeing the will. We're not seeing the leadership. In fact, just the opposite. You know, this is an operational, collective effort to secure our borders. It takes local, state, and federal working together. We know that's not happening, number one. And number two, the facts speak for themselves. When you have 6 million people encounters on the southwest border under this president, something is not working. And we know it's not. As sheriffs that work in the border, that's been discussed and shared at this meeting I'm at here in Texas.
And certainly those are staggering numbers. So is there anything Secretary Mayorkas can do today that would effectively help at the border?
Really, the first thing he needs to do is admit there's a crisis. I saw Secretary Mayorkas' interview here about a month ago when he couldn't even admit there was a crisis on the border. That's the first thing. Usually the adjective, but whatever it is, you got to come out and admit there's a problem. He has not done that to the point where the level it's in. That's the first thing. Accept that there's a responsibility. And once you do that, and there's a problem, then you can fix it. But right now, until he admits that there's an issue on the border, that he can do a better job as a Homeland Security Secretary, both on relations side, collective efforts, and the rule of law, we're not going to get any better on this. He has to admit those things.
Yeah, such a critical issue. Mark Daniels, thank you.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.